Another round of auctions have ended for Goldin Auctions, and there were a ton of cards that broke a ton of records, and I'm here to talk about the card that I was the most interested in that ended this weekend. My name is Adam, and if you enjoy sports card videos and hobby commentary, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Let's get into this video. The card that I'm probably going to regret not buying in my sports card journey is the 2003 Ronaldo Mega Cracks PSA 10, or any of the grades of that card, because that card has completely blown up. You know, the soccer market back in 2019, when I was getting back into it, I was buying Mbappe PSA 10s, the 2018 World Cup cards for about $40 a piece, which I think if I had bought the PSA 10 2016 sticker of Mbappe, I probably would have done a little bit better. I think that card probably at the time, if I had to guess, I don't know for sure, but it was probably $300-400 compared to the $40 PSA 10 Prism cards. That 2003 Ronaldo Mega Cracks card is one of probably, I think it's going to be one of the more iconic sports cards of all time. Like, I don't know if I'd put it in the Mount Rushmore of cards right now. Like, but I would definitely say it's in the top 10 of potential most iconic cards of all time, because, you know, Ronaldo obviously is this international soccer superstar. I mean, there's no denying that. I also think the 2004 Mega Cracks Messi could also be in this conversation. With Ronaldo, he does have a sticker from 2002, and it almost could be a similar situation where the Mega Cracks versus the sticker is the same with the same with the Mbappe Prism versus the 2016 sticker. I don't know if it's going to, well, the Mbappe card actually is a dual sticker, so I think it may be a little bit different, but I think that the sticker eventually is probably going to be more than the card itself. But this card, the 2003 Mega Cracks, it's extremely rare, and to see it sell as much as we have is, I think, pretty interesting, because there's less than 40 of them. If you were to go back to around this time last year, that card was probably only $4,000 or $5,000. Like, I remember I made a TikTok back in the day, probably like January or February of last year, when this card sold on eBay for $1,800, and I called it the Ronaldo rookie card, and I got so many people in the comments saying that we don't call them, we as in people who enjoy soccer cards or stickers, they're like, we don't call them we don't call them rookie cards, and I'm like, I'm gonna call it a rookie card because that's what it is. Like, sure, there's rookie sticker, there's rookie card for soccer, and I think that this card selling for what it did is just an absolutely insane number. The PSA 10 version of this card sold for $236,000, and the BGS 9.5 sold for $161,000, which, like I said, if you're comparing that to just January of last year, that card was like $1,200 to $1,800 for the PSA 10. It's pretty wild to see what has happened within soccer, and but at the same time, I think this is sort of what I expected. Like, when we're talking soccer, it's the largest international sport in the world, like, and it's not even really close. And I think within the United States, it's progressively becoming more and more popular as, you know, players that are American actually are coming through systems and they're going overseas, and I think that's one of the main reasons why soccer is becoming I think it's one of the reasons why soccer is becoming so much more popular in the United States. It's always kind of been, it feels almost like soccer within the United States is like, it was like niche, but now it's becoming much more popular. And I think if you look at it this way, this is kind of how I see this is why I think that there are more Americans playing overseas and more Americans playing at a high level overseas than we've seen in the past, coming through kind of the MLS and all of these other leagues within the United States. Mainly it's because so if you look at the MLS, it's 25, 26 years old. If you look at 10 years ago, it's only 15 years old. So, like, somebody who is 10 at that time, they're the ones that are kind of coming into the league now and playing, and that's sort of when, in my opinion, where if you're 10 years old and you're good enough to know whether you can play professionally, like, that's pretty impressive. But, like, 10 is kind of where either your parents or, in your opinion, you can start making that decision. Like, 12, 13 is where you really got to start taking things probably a little bit more seriously. And if you were 10 to 12, 13 years old back when this MLS is kind of just in the first 10 years, like, that's not really, in my opinion, that's not really an option. Like, going to the MLS, like, it could be a possibility, but if you want to take your game and your skill to the next level, going to the MLS really isn't a good option for you, because if it just wasn't a league that people really respected. And now it's 25 years old, but in the grand scheme of things, like if you look at like Chelsea, the team in the English Premier League, like their team is almost, I think it's over 100 years old. So if you're comparing like just a team to a league, like Chelsea, one of the biggest teams in the English Premier League, is over 100 years old. And I'm not sure if it's over 100 or if it's around 100. I forget exactly the number, but either way, the MLS as a league is only 25 years old. So if you're comparing that and you're looking at what are my possibilities as a 10 to 12-year-old, like, and it's weird to kind of think in this mindset, but I think this is why soccer is sort of becoming more popular and why we're seeing all of these players go overseas. Like, I think Pulisic, and then, well, I think this generation, actually, we are seeing the 22 to 25-year-olds. They were probably one of the last generations of players who they had no option. If they wanted to go pro, they had to go overseas. Like, Pulisic went to Germany when he was just 15 years old. Like, think about yourself as a 15-year-old. Like, if you were good enough at something and the only way to go pro was to go to Germany, like, that's something that's it's a pretty wild change that I don't think many people, it's a wild sacrifice I don't think many people are going to be willing to make. But, like, if you look at players like Daryl Dike, or if you look at, like, Brendan Aronson or Caden Clark, who are players that either played in the MLS, like I think Aronson and DK are playing overseas, and then Caden Clark is playing his last season in the MLS and then going overseas. If you look at those players, or you could even look at like a player like Alphonso Davies or Tyler Adams, who played in 2014 and then went overseas. Like, these players, they have an option to go through the MLS now. And also you're seeing, like, I think the FC Dallas Youth Academy is sponsored by Barcelona, I believe that's what, I forget the exact way that it's structured, but Barcelona has some roots in American soccer. And I think you're seeing big names like, David Beckham obviously owns the team in Miami, which I think is huge. And if they were to be able to get any big names kind of maybe towards the tail end, hopefully not at the very end of their career, hopefully not like a Wayne Rooney, where he came here and it was basically his last couple seasons he played in the MLS. Like Zlatan Ibrahimovic, he came here and now he's playing for AC Milan. I think there are a ton of reasons why soccer in the United States is becoming more popular, and one of the main reasons why I think that if you are looking to get into soccer cards, like, the market has caught up a little bit, in my opinion. Like, the market has become a little bit more, it's become smarter in a way. Like I said, in 2019, you could have been buying Mbappe PSA 10 Prism cards for $40, and now they're like $1,200, which I still think there's a ton of room there for that card to grow. But, like, if you look at that card now and compare it to where it was, like, I just think that's a very good indicator of the market overall. Like, I think the market for soccer cards has become, like I said, I think smarter and more interested in it. Like 2018 is probably one of the most important years for soccer cards because there were so many different products. There was an Optic product, there was the World Cup product, there was a couple other products there was an Immaculate product that has a ton of great rookies in there. But if you're looking at some of these old players, 2003, 2004, 2005, like, well, 2006 kind of, because I've seen also a World Cup Ronaldo and Messi card from 2006 that's kind of also had this sort of huge growth in it. But, like, if you're looking at the Mega Cracks Ronaldo or the Mega Cracks Messi or the sticker Messi or Ronaldo, like, those cards, they're rare, but they're also there aren't a lot of them graded by PSA. Like, I think the Ronaldo, there's less than 40 or less than 50. I forget the exact number, but it's very rare. And I just see that card as maybe one of the ones that could eventually become one of these iconic top 5 cards maybe in the hobby. I mean, you look at in history, because I think Ronaldo is Ronaldo and Messi, I think for the most part, they're probably two of the most iconic athletes of this generation. I think if you look at that 2003, 2004 era, you also have like a LeBron, you have like a Brady a little bit earlier than that, but like these athletes are getting towards the end of their career, and once Ronaldo decides to retire, like he's not going to just leave. Like I don't think he's just going to leave soccer or leave kind of the ecosystem of pop culture, because if you look at what he does off the field, like there were reports or something at the end of 2020 like that Ronaldo makes just as much money off the field as he does on the field. So it's like, if you look at that, and with Messi, he's probably going to be he may or may not go somewhere else. Like, I don't think there's rumors, but with soccer, there's always these crazy rumors that players are going to go somewhere. Like Haaland, like his card also broke a record recently. I think there was a red Topps Chrome Bundesliga, that's red PSA 10 that sold for, I think it was $250,000, which then the Ronaldo card comes along, and it's soccer market's pretty crazy. And I think it's fun to kind of look at the soccer market and see the potential that it has. And I hope that you enjoy soccer. If you don't enjoy soccer, don't really like get into it. Like I watched soccer probably, like growing up, I watched a little bit of it, but I played a lot of FIFA, which is sort of weird to say, but I played a lot of FIFA when I was a freshman in college, and that's what kind of brought me back into soccer, and that made me become a Chelsea fan. And I think it was probably best case scenario there, because I became a Chelsea fan, and then literally they won the Champions League like 2 years of me becoming kind of this big Chelsea fan. So that was kind of crazy, and I think the soccer market is just going to continue to kind of grow, and I think it has still the most potential, and it was the market that grew the most in 2020, and I think throughout kind of the next few years, there's a ton of reasons why I still see a lot of potential in the market. You got Euros coming up this summer, you've got the World Cup coming up, you then have a World Cup in the United States in 2026. To be honest, I thought that the market was going to be where it is now in 2026 when the World Cup came around. So, I think that there still is potential. You're still probably going to have to be careful with what you're buying because of what has happened in the market recently. But I still think that if you're looking to get into soccer and you're looking to kind of get into prospecting, I think there's a ton of potential, and there's a lot of opportunities if you want to get into some of those cards.